My name is Dawn Paley. I'm a freelance journalist and I just put out my first book called War Capitalism. Critics of the drug war will often criticize the drug war as being a failure because the amount of cocaine, for example, reaching the United States hasn't been reduced, even though billions of dollars have been spent on that pretext. And what I argue in the book is that in reality it hasn't been a failure, because I think the metrics that we need to be using to measure the success of the drug war are more aligned with US foreign policy generally and less aligned with, drugs. So, if you look at the impacts of the drug war in terms of its ability to, create and guarantee new spaces for investment by private corporations, if you look at Colombia and you look at Mexico, you'll see that actually the drug war has been a huge success. So in the past couple of years in Mexico, there's been a huge amount of reforms passed. There's been financial reform, education reform, tax reform, energy reform, telecommunications reforms, other reforms. All these reforms have been passed, while the people in Mexico were totally distracted by the security situation. And many of them are supported by US-funded lobby groups, and that funding is now all channeled through, the Merit Initiative at the US Embassy in Mexico City. I don't think official death toll numbers are to be trusted in any state at war with its people. But in Mexico, the numbers have been sitting around 60,000 dead in drug-related violence. For a couple years now, we know that's simply not the case. In my book, I refer to the number of homicides since 2006, since the drug war was declared. That number sits at 150,000. And you have to keep in mind that, they only count dead when there's a body. The other piece there is that, migrants and people that aren't Mexicans, that don't have status in Mexico, don't figure into the death counts. Following the disappearance of the 43 students from Iguala, Guerrero on September 26th, 27th, authorities have been looking for the students, and what they've been finding is grave after grave after grave containing multiple bodies. We actually don't know how many bodies, they haven't told us, but we know they're not the bodies of the students. And this is actually one of the first times they've been looking for mass graves in Mexico, and it's like they were finding like 1 or 2 a day, right? So the entire country is a cemetery is actually one of the sayings that people have been chanting at demos and so on. What they tend to do is dig out the bodies. Sometimes they even use caterpillars and heavy machinery to get them out. Identify about 11% of them. The rest are reburied in state-run mass graves, and I don't think there's any way to interpret that really other than being a way for this, the state is covering the tracks of the criminals, be they, the army, the police, or organized crime groups, destroying the possibility of learning more about these crimes, the nature of these crimes, and maybe one day holding somebody responsible for them.
Want more? Download the AJ Plus mobile app and join the conversation. Available in your app store now.